Just going back to like the VC component of it, like similar to you, I also am part of different venture funds, invest in different startups, different businesses. And I think that, I want to be a part of growing that community in Sierra Leone. And I think there's a couple of different ways to do it. The path that I want to go down is I want to work with companies that have the ability to sell goods and services internationally. Step one is going to be setting up an incubator or an accelerator rather to help these entrepreneurs develop their businesses, develop financials, develop a marketing strategy, a sales strategy, and start to actually sell internationally. And then the goal is, we're helping these people provide an income for themselves. And when they're ready to scale, we can also have a VC fund that's there that is working, that is investing in these companies to help them get to, the next level. And I like that methodology because number one, when you're coming as an investor, you're going to have these companies that have gone through this accelerator. And so that de-risks the investment to a certain extent, right? Us in the accelerator, we're going to get to know these people, understand their work ethic, understand what drives them, understand their values, understand how they are as a business person, understand, whether or not they have what it takes or willing to put in the work, the dedication to get to that next level. So that accelerator, could be a not-for-profit accelerator that's really just helping them get to a steady state where they can sustain themselves and have an organized and developed business model. And then when they're ready to scale, that's when we'll have, some outside investors come in and really take them to the next level. I love all of that. And Fambul, I think there's going to be an iteration of Fambul in the near future that is working with these companies to help them. But it's going to be two steps. Number one is help them, get organized through the accelerator. And then number two, invest in them. So in terms of, my finance self, I think greed is definitely good. I've been fortunate. I've been blessed to be, in a space where I'm able to, realize a lot of my potential from an academic perspective, from a professional perspective, and that all of that is great. And I want other people to also have that opportunity. I want them to be greedy, right? And ultimately, if they have the opportunity, there's going to be enough money for, everyone to be made if you're investing in these companies and all of that. But in order to even get to a point where they're investable, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get them, sort of organized and develop business models. And there's a lot of Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora that have the skills to help these companies. And so that's a big part of Fambul is we're developing this diaspora network of, leaders, entrepreneurs, creatives, and we're bringing them all together to one, get to know each other so they can help each other, but then also think about what we can do back home when we put our heads together.
Let's have a teachable moment for a whole nother. I don't get to do this with a lot of people in our space, but like when you watch things online, and if you do, maybe you don't watch the junk, but to me, everybody on social media is rich. They're an investor. They're six figures. They're everything. And I look at it, and I'm like, I'm looking at people's, my clients who really are comfortable. And some would say, you do six figures a month and you'd be considered, rich, but you also are paying people out. What is your thought in our age bracket of everybody being everything? Because I've seen even rich in Sierra Leone, right, online. The videos, they got everything looks good. And then you go to their family house and there's the tin roof, right?
Mhm.
There's, no pavement. And I'm like, this is not just an American issue. When you travel enough, you're like, people are fronting. I'm in South Africa, people are fronting, and it's always been like that since at least I've been alive. So what is your thought as a financial guy? Because of course, people probably think, you are the walking money tree when they see you, especially in Salon, but even here in America. What's your thought on this, thing of everyone's a rich, everyone's an investor? I don't hear everybody saying they're going to retire, though. I don't hear anybody, talking about that in the space of, those same type of six-figure talks online.
Yeah. It's I think generally my perspective is that everyone's probably much broker than they look, right? People can front on social media and portray themselves to be something that they're not, absolutely. There really needs to be just a focus on some of the things that you're talking about, which is, yeah, okay, you may have income, but like, what are your savings, right? Like, when the rainy day comes, which it inevitably will, how long are you able to sustain yourself, for? And even myself, I've gone through periods where, I've lived a great lifestyle, but then I take a step back and I'm like, ooh, okay, like if something happens, like I actually need a little bit more cushion. So let me take a step back and focus on saving and getting myself together, so that I'm prepared for this, right? And I think you also have to kind of know what your personal disposition is. I can spend money with the best of them, right? I love all the nice things, but I also love investing, right? I love being part of projects. I love investing in real estate. And so I make sure that I stay pretty balanced, right? So I'll go on the nice vacation and enjoy myself. I'll go out to the nice dinner, but then I also make sure that I'm, buying this rental property and doing this. So I maintain balance there so that, in the long run, I end up in a good place. So there's nothing wrong with enjoying it. I think the key is about balance, but you definitely can't get focused on what other people are doing. The people who have real money are not trying to show everybody that they have money. They're trying to hide it, right? It's the people who have recently just got money, for the most part, that are being flashy and trying to flaunt it. But real wealth is wants to stay off the cameras.
Oh, they don't even want to be on social media and try to get them to do an interview. It's taboo and forbidden in many, it's kind of like Al Heyman. Al Heyman and I've begged his friends not doing an interview because he's not liked. And I don't,
Mhm.
even though he has so much game, and how did you turn Mayweather into a billionaire? Because he's the brains behind the operation as an advisor, and I get it because my OGs tell me you talk too much. But I said, no, I gotta give the game. I gotta give the game. And these people are talking about Turo plays and Airbnb on Burn Your Leisure podcast, but I've never heard them once talk about a DBP plan. I've never heard
Mhm.
them once say, go call Empyrean and set up this, thing. So, this can be set up and your healthcare can be set up. I don't hear that. I just hear about buying things. And I might be morbid, but I look at business like this is the last day that we have to do it. But we also have to plan, at least for me, another 77 years to get to 120. Like we have to
Yeah.
plan. So all these things are just things. When you can buy a shirt in Africa for $5, I don't have to go to Saks. I don't have to go to Neiman Marcus. So I don't know.
Mhm.
I look at things. I look at things differently. I'm an alien. I'm a weirdo, but I love it. Besides Fumble, and it's such a big thing, but it's my signature question, so I have to ask it. Besides this, or maybe the next generation of something you haven't told us, what does a community give back that you are doing or that you would like to do?
It's funny. I was back home at the end of Ramadan and for Eid. And so that actually got my mind sparking a lot. Like one of the things I want to do is get more involved in mosque that I grew up in back home, and then also the local mosque here in Brooklyn where I live, to work with, some of the young kids who are there, that have aspirations to do different things to help them out, right? I have fond memories of growing up in the mosque, and I think if you're trying to raise, children, having that network, that community there is helpful. And it doesn't always have to be just to go and read, the Quran or learn Arabic. If there's some kids there that are passionate about, fashion, well, let's work with them to start a clothing line. If there are kids that are, like, business, well, let's, have an entrepreneur come in and talk to them or help them start a business. I do want to get a little bit more involved in that. But I would say that 90% of my extracurricular activities are focused on things that I can be doing back in Sierra Leone. I have a couple of guys back there who have helped me out a lot in Fambul, who grew up in the neighborhood that my family lives in. And so we're working with them to get them some scholarships to go abroad and study. One, just to see something outside of Sierra Leone to get a little bit of a different, perspective. But then also to, just go and study at a great institution and hopefully bring their skills back to Sierra Leone.
Yeah.